What if I told you that an ancient spiritual map could be one of the most powerful tools for understanding your mind right now, today? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into. The Islamic concept of the nafs. Think of it as a timeless guide to your inner self.
But let's start with a feeling I think we all know. Have you ever felt like you're literally at war with yourself? You're fighting these impulses, these habits, these desires you know just aren't good for you? That internal struggle? That's a fundamental part of being human, and it's right at the heart of what we're exploring today.
And that's where this concept of the nafs comes in. You can think of it as the self, your ego, or your soul. The key thing is, it's not good or bad on its own. It's the inner battleground where your desires, your conscience, and your spirit are all clashing. It's the part of you that wants and feels and acts.
So, ancient Islamic wisdom gives us this incredible map of our inner world. It breaks it down into 3 main states, or levels, of the self. Now, this isn't about putting people into boxes or labeling personality types. It's a dynamic map showing the different states our soul can shift between at any given time.
Okay, so let's break this down. At the very bottom, you have the commanding self, the nafs al-amarar. This is the self that's just completely driven by its base desires, no guilt whatsoever. Then, in the middle, there's the reproaching self, nafs al-lawwama. This is huge. It's when your conscience kicks in and you feel that deep remorse for your mistakes. And at the very top, you have the tranquil self, nafs al-mutma'nina, which is a state of just profound inner peace. To really get this, we've got to start at the bottom.
So we're going to dive right into the ego's absolute lowest point, the nafs al-amara. This is the state where the self is no longer your own. It's become a tyrant, completely enslaved by its worst impulses. And what is just fascinating is how this ancient description perfectly mirrors some of our most modern psychological problems.
For centuries, these spiritual texts have described this very specific state of the human soul. Picture this, a soul completely overwhelmed by impulsivity, with no conscience, dripping with arrogance, and always looking to exploit others for its own gain. It's a pretty intense description, right? Well, what's coming next is really going to blow your mind.
Because here's the twist. That ancient, spiritual description, it stunningly mirrors the combined traits of a group of modern psychological diagnoses. Diagnoses known for causing erratic, dramatic, and often really destructive behavior. The mapping is frankly incredible. The impulsivity and recklessness of this tyrannical self, yep, that's a core trait of borderline and antisocial personality disorders. A total lack of remorse, a hallmark of antisocial and narcissistic personality disorder. Grandiosity, manipulation, explosive anger. I mean, you look down the list, and the parallels across what modern psychologists call mixed cluster B traits are just uncanny.
In fact, get this, when you look at severe cases where a person shows traits from all 4 of the cluster B disorders, the conceptual overlap between that clinical profile and the ancient description of the nafs al-amara is basically 100%. It's a perfect match. The tyrannical ego is the ancient archetype for this psychological state.
Okay, so that was the dark part. But here's the good news. This map doesn't just show you the problem, it shows you the way out. The path upward from those depths begins with one single, absolutely crucial step, the awakening of your conscience.
This brings us to that middle stage, the nafs al-lawwama, or the reproaching self. This is that moment you do something wrong and you feel it. That pang of guilt, that feeling of shame, that little voice inside saying, man, that was not right. You might think that's a sign of failure, but in this framework, it is the most hopeful sign in the world. It means your heart is still alive and the journey to healing has officially begun.
So how do you actually start that climb? The map gives us some really practical steps. First, sincere repentance, just admitting the wrong and asking for forgiveness. Second, you have to be ruthless about cutting out the triggers and bad influences in your life. Third, you establish some kind of spiritual practice to build discipline and connection. And finally, you do a daily self-check-in, just taking a moment to reflect on your actions to build that self-awareness.
So after you move through that struggle of the reproaching self, after all that hard work, where does this map lead? It leads to the ultimate destination, a state of profound, unshakable peace and tranquility.
And this is the nafs al-mutma'inna, the tranquil soul. So what does that actually feel like? It's a deep inner peace that doesn't get rattled by what's happening on the outside. It's about having total trust in a higher purpose, and your desires actually start to line up with what is genuinely good. You find freedom from the tyranny of your own anger, greed, and envy. This is the state that makes the entire journey worth it.
And this state is spoken to directly in the Quran with this beautiful, beautiful invitation, O tranquil soul, return to your Lord, well pleased and pleasing to him. It's like the soul's finally coming home to its natural state of harmony.
So, the map is in your hands now. It shows the dark depths of the tyrannical ego, the difficult struggle of an awakening conscience, and the beautiful peace of the tranquil soul. The only question left is, which direction is your inner compass pointing right now?